Started with exception handling in Java. Okay, so first, let's try to understand what exactly mean by exception handling. Okay, and what exactly mean by an exception first, and then we will talk about how to handle that exceptions and all. We'll be having a very detailed discussion. Now, like basically, customers have high expectations for the code we produce. I wanted to tell you here, like there are two kinds of programmers generally. One is called optimistic programmers. The other one is called pessimistic programmers, meaning the one who doesn't care about the errors and dealing with errors and all, the one who cares about the errors and everything. Okay, and obviously, you will not be developing any code. Okay, it's your responsibility to produce the quality code that does not fail unexpectedly. So whenever you're going for an interview and whenever you're going into the production level projects and all, these two concepts are very, very important because even in your regular interviews, if you're not able to, like if they ask you to write a simple code, if you're not writing the code which deals with errors and exceptions, then your code will be rejected. So being a programmer, whether it could be from Python perspective or Java or C Sharp or whatever the language, dealing with the errors are very, very important. Okay. If you don't deal with your errors, then your program, your application will get crashed unexpectedly for many reasons and you'll not be liking it. A simple example I'll take it to make you understand the importance of error handling or the exception handling. Let's say a new ATM got installed at your area, and the first day you went to that ATM to withdraw some money, and then you inserted your card, you just entered your PIN, and then when you entered your cash, somehow some went wrong. You got a message like the amount got detected, but you did not receive the amount. Okay, somehow you contacted the bank and managed to just get with the transaction and everything you done and all. Suppose it repeats every day for some reason. Suppose this time you entered PIN and then the application get crashed and did not uh, it get hanged and you are not able to get money out of it. So if it repeats for continuous or one or two times you got cash, but most of the times, suppose the ATM application was getting crashed for some reason, then obviously you will not be using that ATM anymore because you know that it's somewhere there is problem with the implementation and you'll not be liking it to go there and to withdraw the cash from that ATM, right? Similar way, if you are playing some game and that game was getting crashed every time, you're not able to play that game properly, and obviously you'll not be using it because you don't want that, right? So similarly, you writing an application is also important that your customers have high expectations for the code whatever we produce. It is our responsibility to produce a quality code that does not fail unexpectedly. So from here you always need to think about errors and exceptions. Okay, you always need to think about the errors and the exceptions. Okay, what are errors and what are exceptions? There is a lot of confusion regarding errors and exceptions. So let us talk about like what are errors and what are exceptions. So basically, if we talk about errors, errors are nothing but an unexpected result obtained from the program during execution. So one thing I wanted to tell you, like whatever we're discussing, it's basically we are dealing with runtime errors. Okay, runtime. I'm not talking about any compile time error like semicolon is missing or parenthesis is missing or curly brackets are missing. I'm not talking about any syntactical error here. I'm talking about the runtime errors. So basically, errors are unexpected result obtained from a program during execution. An error may come for different reason. Let's say error may come because of memory error, like you memory incorrectly allocated or memory leakage problem. File system error like disk is full. Okay, network error like network is down. Conversation error like you write some formula and you're getting wrong answer because of wrong conversion. So all these are basically errors. But what exactly you're going to deal with these errors? Most of the cases, errors are not caused by our programs. These are due to lack of system resources like network error, disk is full, all these things those are non-recoverable, meaning you cannot write the program to recover that error. For example, if you see out of memory error occurs, being a programmer, we cannot do anything. Okay, the program will simply terminate abnormally. It's the system admin or server admin is responsible for raise or increase the heap memory. So what you have understood in this couple of slides, that errors are not caused by our program generally. It will be caused by lack of resources available. Okay, and you cannot write a code to fix that error. You have to manually fix this particular error. So that is basically call it as an error in most of the cases. But whereas the exceptions are something different. The exceptions are something different. Very nice to see. We got the first question here. I would like to take up the question and then we will go with exception. I have, if the program has error, then how we can compile and how we can get a runtime error. See, Pranay, if you talk about errors, basically, errors can be of two types. Okay, let me put in my blackboard. So errors can be classified in two types. Okay, if you talk about errors, uh, let's say errors, okay, can be classified into two types. What are the two types? One is basically call it as compile time error. Okay, compile time error. Basically, we also call these as syntactical errors. Okay, they come just basically because of the syntax. You are making mistake with the syntax. They are basically call it as compile time error. Okay, and the second one is basically call it as runtime error. Okay, Abhi thinks there are three types. So what will be the third type, guys? So we have runtime errors. As I just shown you that runtime errors, we will be classifying into two types again. Okay, runtime errors, we are classifying into two types, which is called it as an error and the exceptions. Error and the exceptions. Okay, so currently what we are talking in this session is about runtime errors. Okay, what we are talking about is the runtime error. We're not talking about the compile time error. So obviously, if you have any syntactical error, like semicolon is missing, you forgot the opening bracket, you misspell the method names or class name or whatever, they are basically call it as compile time error. They're basically call it as compile time error. And obviously, Pranay, as you said, unless you don't fix this compile time error, you cannot compile your program and you cannot run your program. Okay, you have to fix that. If there is a mistake with semicolon, if there is a mistake with uh, whatever the syntax you're writing, if any mistake with that, if you cannot fix that error, it will not get compiled. So they are called compile time error and they are not dangerous because still the program is not running. So they are not dangerous. Okay. They will not be having any problem. Until unless you don't fix them, you cannot obviously compile and run your program. So compile time errors are not dangerous. We are worried about runtime errors because runtime errors are dangerous because your program will get crash. As in our previous examples, I told you like how ATM was getting crash at runtime while running the application, right? So they may different problems like I told you, maybe the conversation errors were there, network errors may come, disk errors may come. So different errors may come. Because of that, your application may get crash at runtime, meaning when the application is live, then any error comes, that is basically call it as runtime errors. I hope that was your question, Pranay, and I hope I've answered your question, whatever you concern. Abhi, would like to check with you as well. Like you said, three. I was not getting what's that. Three, you mean three types of errors, you mean? Okay, meantime, others, okay, thank you, Abhi. Others can also please can have some questions so that we can conclude the concept of errors and we will get into exception. Now you understood what is errors, right? Can someone tell me what is exception? Can someone tell me what is exception? You can just tell the definition if you know. Otherwise, you can take some real-time example and explain me what is exception and how it is different from errors. Controlling the runtime error, okay. What about the logical errors? They are runtime errors. Logical errors are, that's what I told you, conversation or conversion errors are basically the logical errors, right? So those are basically runtime error. You're making mistake with the logic and your system is getting crashed because of the logic is wrong. Okay, so those are runtime errors. Okay. Trying to occur during program execution, like abnormal terminates, that also deals with error, right? So how it is different from uh, errors then? So that is what our major concern. Like we have tried understanding what is error and what are the different types of errors. Okay. But now my question is, what is exception? First thing. And second thing, how it is different from your runtime errors. I mean, how it is different from your errors, basically. Anyone? Let's put this here and you please tell me a few points, if you can tell me, regarding error versus exception. Okay, error versus exception. So can someone tell me like what is the major difference between error and the exception? What is the major difference between error and the exception? Errors and make it useful to output of the program. Okay, good. Nice. All of you are just telling your version of error and exception. But still, I'm just wanted to see from all of you, based on your understanding till now, you can tell me like what is difference between error and an exception. Okay. The first difference between error and the exception is, as we just seen, that it will not caused by the program, by your program. Okay, not caused by the program. Okay, it is caused by some external resource. Okay, it is not caused by your program actually. Okay, but whereas exceptions are caused, okay, by your program. Okay, by your program. So something went wrong in your program. Okay, that way the exceptions has occurred. Second thing, second important point is you cannot predict. Okay, you cannot predict the exception. Okay, you cannot predict the exception. So exception can come, I mean, sorry, errors cannot be predicted. Okay, you cannot predict the errors, so that the application may get crash in most of the cases and you are not able to handle it. Whereas, okay, it can be predicted. Okay, it can be predicted, or I can say it should be predicted basically. What is meant by prediction? Like you can actually find what exactly can happen in your program and you need to provide the handler for that. Okay, you can handle. Third important thing about the error is as it is not caused by the programmer, you cannot handle it by program. Cannot handle by the program. Whereas you need to write the law code to handle that exception whenever it comes. So okay, you need to provide the handler code here. You need to provide the handler code to handle that particular exception. So with these points, let's try to understand what is exception in real time. Okay, what is exception in real time? I'll take an example of examination. Okay, I'll take an example of examination. During examination, you may come across with different exceptions. You may come across with different exceptions. Then we will see the definition for Monica, from Monica, and we will see how it will fit for our exception. You all have gone through with some examination, right? Let's talk about your board examinations. Okay. So, what kind of exceptions you may get or you might have got during examination, guys? Can you help me uh, with few of the exceptions you might have come across? Exceptions are expected, one which we should recover from. Very nice. Errors are unexpected. Actually, both are unexpected but can be predicted, Abhi. Okay, both are unexpected. Exceptions are unexpected. That's what it's called it as an exception. The term exception comes from English dictionary, right? Both are unpredicted. I mean, both are unexpected, but one can be predicted, the other can. Monica says an exception is an issue where our program can handle and recover from. Very nice. While an error is a problem that the program cannot handle or recover from. Very nice of you, right? That's what we have put couple of points in our comparison, like what exactly an exception and what exactly an error is. But now I need your help to understand in a better way, like in examination, during examination, what kind of exceptions you may get. Can someone help me? Like what kind of exceptions you can predict or you might have experienced with your experience? You can tell me what kind of exception you might got during your examination. I'll help you out with one exception. Very famous, very popular exception. I'm sure. Like some of us might have experienced this. Okay. One is called hall ticket not found. Hall ticket not found. Right. So you go to exam hall and you check for your hall ticket. You see that hall ticket is not there. Right. It's a very common exception. Very common exception during examination. Like you went for an exam and you see that hall ticket is not there with you. Okay. And similar way, can you tell me what kind of other? Yeah, very nice. Thank you, Anirudh. Pen not working. Okay, is another exception. What Anirudh helped us. Like pen not working is another exception you may get during examination, right? So you start writing and you see that pen is not working. Okay, so this is another exception you may get. And out of syllabus. Okay, out of syllabus is another exception you may get. So different exceptions you may get during examination, like hall ticket was not found, pen is not working, out of syllabus, health issues. Okay, nice. During examination, you may get a lot of exceptions, right? Very nice. Correct. So these are the exceptions, basically. These are the exceptions. And do you think like can you predict these exceptions? Let's say tomorrow you have an exam. Do you list out all the exceptions may come during examinations? Can you predict them at least? No, you cannot predict. Like hall ticket might be lost, pen not might be not working. What if anything comes out of syllabus? Okay. What if any problem comes during examination? These are all will be predicted, Monica. Okay, you agree with me now? Okay. Let's say, for example, I will tell you like another scenario we will see. Let's talk about traveling. Okay. In holidays, you wanted to travel for a long distance. Let's say you wanted to go for Bangalore. Okay. And here also, you may get, while traveling in a car, you may get different exceptions. Can somebody help me? Like what kind of exceptions you can predict? So first thing being a programmer, what you need to do is whenever you write a code, you need to predict like what kind of exceptions can come in your program. Very nice. Okay. The very common exception Anirudh says is tire puncture. Okay. Tire puncture exception. Okay. Very nice. And insufficient petrol. Very nice. Thank you, Sarika. Out of petrol, we can say. Okay. Out of petrol. Out of petrol. Or you may get uh, any car issues, right? Related to car and all, you can get some car issues and everything. Those can be classified as an error version. So now let's consider this tire puncture and out of petrol kind of. Now, as first thing you see, like all these exceptions are predictable. Okay, they are unexpected, they are predictable. Okay, but you also agree that is it compulsory these exceptions will come? Is it compulsory that exceptions may come? They may come or they may not come, right? They may come or they may not come. It's not compulsory that you go for an exam, you lost the hall ticket, pen is not working, you got out of the syllabus. May or may not. Similarly, while traveling, it's not necessary that the tire get punctured, out of petrol. And one more scenario I wanted to take about our Java online class. Java online class. Can you tell me what kind of exceptions I may get during the online class? What kind of exceptions I may get during online class? What kind of exceptions you can predict? Very nice. I may get network issue, right? I may get network issue. Okay, network issue. Again, I may get power cut issue. Okay, power cut issue. And third, I may get some net server issues. Okay, uh, nice. So I may get different errors, different exceptions again during our Java online class. Okay, like there may be error with the server, there may be error with my operating system, there may be error with network, there may be error with power cut. So different errors may come. So what generally I wanted to tell you with all these examples that exceptions are predictable. Okay, predictable. And most importantly, you need to have the handler for that exception. Most importantly, you need to have the handler for the exception. Now, if hall ticket is not found, you predict that the exception. I'm telling you the exception has not come, right? Basically, these exceptions comes at runtime, meaning during exam, we may get this exception. During traveling, we may get this exception. During online class, I may get this exception. But I need to provide the handler when the exception come or before the exception come, guys. When I need to provide the handler, when the exception come or before the exception comes. Whenever the exception comes, I need to have you need to provide the handler, Anirudh, or you need to handler have the handler before the exception comes. Before, okay. Sangeeta thinks before. Anirudh thinks okay. Monica also thinks before. Okay, Navya also thinks before. Okay, so can you help me, Navya? Like, what could be the handler for hall ticket not found? What will be the handler for hall ticket not found exception? Okay. You mean a photocopy? You mean a photocopy? Okay. So Navya says like for handling this exception, you will make a photocopy of it, right? I think that's the first thing you did when you got your board exam. Whenever you got the hall ticket, your mother might have told you, please make a photocopy, possibly a colored photocopy, or you will at least have a photo in your mobile phone so that if your hall ticket is lost, if you don't find your hall ticket, at least instead of like your exam gets stopped, okay, instead of your exam gets abnormally terminated, at least you can continue writing your exam for that day, right? You can take a photocopy. I mean, you can show the photocopy, and then you can at least say that I'm eligible for writing this exam, so I will go ahead with it. So, what will be the handler for pen not working, guys? What will be the handler for pen not working? You'll have an extra pen, right? You will at least have at least 2 to 3 pens. You will have extra pens so that anytime you get this exception, okay, you will be making sure that you're yeah, asking friends is also another exception handler, right? So you know about how to handle this exception, right, Pranay? You can predict the exceptions. And second important thing is you know how to handle the exceptions. You know how to handle the exception. Similarly, for our Java online session, suppose if network issue comes, if there is internet issue or router has some problem, then do what should I do now? I need to have a handler, right? Otherwise, our session gets stopped in between. It will get abnormally terminated. It will not be concluded properly. All right. So that is basically happens when a runtime error comes or an exception comes, your program will be abnormally terminated. Okay. So you must predict that exceptions which will terminate your program abnormally and should provide the handler. If there is no internet or router problem for me, what will be the handler, guys? Can I say like I will be using mobile hotspot? Agree with me? Okay. I'll be using mobile hotspot. And if there is any power cut, let's say suddenly now power cut happened. Still, can I continue my class? Still, can we continue the class if power cut happens at me? Yes. What will be the handler for this? For power cut, what could be the handler for power backup or UPS? Okay. Very nice. Okay. So this is actually a handler for my problems. So I will make sure like before I start the session, I'll make sure I have the mobile data so that I can use hotspot and then I can at least continue my session without terminating abnormally. Unfortunately, I don't have UPS, but okay, if there's a power cut, I need to make sure that I need to have a proper backup or proper UPS supply so that if power cuts, then UPS should support and then I should run my class perfect. Okay. And coming to our traveling problem, can you tell me like what could be the handler for this tire puncture? Suppose you're going for a long drive, let's say Bangalore or something. Very nice. Okay. Anirudh says you will be carrying a stepney, right? You'll be carrying a stepney so that whenever there is a tire puncture, you will be having an extra tire, right? That's the reason of having a stepney because you can predict the exception. That's why you will always uh, take care of this. So now my question is again for extra petrol, you will carry some bottle petrol in some bottle. At least you can go till petrol pump, right? So this is how you will be having the handler for exception. So every exception, you will be having an handler. So again, I wanted to repeat this question. You will be having this handler before the exception comes or during the exception comes, because exceptions can come or cannot. I hope with all these examples, you got a clarity what exactly mean by exceptions. Okay, what exactly mean by the exceptions, and you also got a clarity like what is the handlers for it. Okay, what are the different handlers for this exception? Okay, so that's nice. So is this clear for all? Everyone understood what is exception and what is the handler for the exceptions? Okay, that's nice. Thank you, Sangeeta. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Anirudh. What about others? Worship, thank you. Sarika, thank you. Pawan, that's nice. Let me see who are in. We have Pawan, Pranay, Shruti, Navya, Sarika, Surya here, Varshini. Okay. Exceptions are runtime, then can occur during. Yeah, exceptions comes at runtime only. Okay. And they occur during the execution of a program. Correct. Okay, they occurs during the execution of the program. But the thing is, exceptions can be predicted. You should predict the exception and you need to have the handler before the exception comes. So that anytime the exception comes, your program should not get affected. It should not get terminated abnormally. You should terminate your program normally. Yes, it can be predicted and it can be handled by the program itself. Okay, you'll write the code for handling the exception, and Java provides a nice way to deal exceptions comes during your program execution. Okay, so let's see how Java developers have predicted the exceptions and how they provide the handler and what mechanism they uses for handling the exceptions and all. We're going to see with. But I wanted to make it clear first with this your real-time examples. I hope you all got a clarity what is exception, what are exception handlers. Okay, so with this, let us see some theory and then we will get into implementation and we will see how exceptions can be taken care. Okay, now the term exception means exceptional condition and it occurs that alters the normal program flow, right? Suppose you're running the program. Okay, you're running the program and suddenly exception comes, so your program will be terminated. Okay, same like you're going for an exam, you find that hall ticket is not found, now you cannot write the exam. Okay, you're going for somewhere traveling, suddenly tire puncture, you don't have the hander, you stopped, your trip got cancelled. You're running out of petrol, the trip got cancelled. Suppose I'm running my online session, suddenly there is a power cut and my session got cancelled, right? Abnormally terminated. So that is basically called exception, which is exceptional condition, and it is occurred that alter the normal program. Clear, guys? You are all okay with the definition for the exception now? Definite question for your exams, right? What are exceptions? A quick confirmation with everyone. Right? Okay, that's nice. Now you can see here, this is about our online session. And which exception this talking is talking about, guys? Which exception it's talking about? Power cut exception, right? Yeah, it's a power cut exception. Okay. Suppose we are taking a session and suddenly there is a power cut, and now you can see that I was not able to continue the session. Okay, great. So basically, how you're going to handle this? Okay, what is exception handling? Exception handling works. Okay, exception handling works by transferring the execution of the program to an appropriate exception handler when an exception occurs. So how you need to handle that whenever the exception occurs. Okay, let's say you're running the program, any exception comes, there must be an alternate way. There must be an alternate. Like in our power cut exception, you must have an UPS. You must have a UPS where if there is a power cut, UPS will be an alternate way to supply the power. UPS is an alternate way to supply the power so that your exception will be detected, your exception will be recognized, and it will be handled so that my program should not terminate abnormal. So that my program should not get terminate abnormal. Okay. So with this theoretical knowledge, let us go and implement our first example practically. I'll give you a couple of minutes to ask questions. Okay, if you have any questions for whatever we discussed theoretically till now, please have questions. Then we'll implement practically, and we will see how programmatically exceptions can be predicted and can be handled. Or is it okay, Anirudh? This is what you're asking. Thank you. Any questions for now? Any questions for now? If everything is okay, please confirm your. Okay, thank you, Abhi. What about others? Is everything clear for now? What are exceptions and how we can handle? Okay, that's nice. Okay, great. So what we will do is we'll write one simple program now, and let's try to understand. like what kind of exceptions can be predicted. Now, see, I'm creating a class called division. Okay. What happens if we don't handle an exception? Yeah, we will see morning. Okay. We will see practically. Like, see, if we don't handle the exception, your program will be abnormally terminated. But we will see now. There was a question: what exactly happens when an exception comes, and what happens if you don't have an handler, and what happens if we have an handler? We will see both the scenarios. Okay. So conceptually, we have learned with a lot of examples, like what exactly mean by exceptions and how to handle the exceptions. What can we predict the exceptions? Can we handle the exceptions? All this we have seen with real-time examples. Now we will try to implement it. Okay. Is it clear, Monica? Okay, that's nice. So we are making a class called division. Okay, we are going to make a class called division. And then let's say I will be making a constructor, or first I'll be making some variables, let's say int x, int y, int z. Okay, three variables I declared. And as per the encapsulation rule, let's make this as private. Okay, let's say private int x, private int y, private int z. Okay, three variables I created. Now I'll be creating a constructor for accepting the values. So I'll say public. The name of the constructor is division. It will take variables like int x, comma, int y. Okay, we go inside and initialize the arguments. Okay, so this time you see the name of the arguments and name of the variables are same. So I'll be making use of this keyword to avoid the ambiguity problem. So this dot x is equal to x, and we will say this dot y is equal to y. Okay, this dot y is equal to y. Now I will provide the method for division. Okay, then I will provide the method for division. I'll say public. Okay, I'll not return any value, so void, and I'll say div as the name of the method for division. What it will simply do is z is equal to x divided by y. Z is equal to x divided by y, and then I will be printing it. System dot out dot print ln. I'll be printing as div is equal to, okay, division is equal to plus z. Division is equal to plus z. So this is simple object oriented implementation of your division program. Okay, object oriented implementation of your division program. So what we did, we created a class called division. We created a class called division with three fields: x, y, and z. X to store the first value, y to store the second value, and z for storing the result. You please have the proper name. Okay, I just used as x, y, and z. And then we provided a constructor. As you can see, there is no return type, so it's a constructor, and name is same as the class name. It takes two arguments. Okay, and then it initializes and fills the value for x and y. Then you have a method called div. As you can see, return type is void, access modifier is public, and you will be dividing the numbers and printing the result. Printing the result. Now, if I have to perform the implementation testing of this, first of all, I'll be taking the input from the user. Let's say I'll be taking the input from the user. I'll make a scanner object. Scanner sc is equal to new scanner. Okay, and I'll be uh, passing the source from where I have to read this input. I say that you read from your input source, and the moment I'm using scanner object, I have to import it. So I'll go to my first line and I add the import statement here: import java dot util dot scanner. Okay, java.util.scanner. Okay, so imported java.util.scanner, and I will be having a class division where this x, y, and z. Okay, you'll be having the constructor and the divide method. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the input from the user. So I will take one variable in X. No issue. I can have the same name. If you're getting confused, then let's take A. Int A is equal to sc dot next int to take the first input from the user. And then I will say int B is equal to sc dot next int. Okay, to read the second input from the user. Then I'll make the object of my division. Okay, division d is equal to new division. I'll be passing this a value and b value. Okay, I'll be passing this a value and b value. Then I will call d dot div. Okay, and then it gets printed me the result. So this is my complete program for performing the division of two numbers in object oriented style. Okay, in object oriented style. Only thing I'm missing is package. It's a good practice to have the package, but okay for now. Okay, let's not make you all confuse with the code. So let's make it a little simple by just making a class called division and then constructor, and we have divide method. And what we did in the test exception class, I created the scanner object for taking input. So I took the input from the user, made an object of my division. So division constructor gets called. Okay, it will initialize x and y value. Then I'm calling div method. So div method gets called. What div method will do? It will divide the values and it will print the result. It will divide the values and print the result. Right. Now, if I go here and compile the code, let's say if I compile the code, Java C test uh, exception dot Java, it gets compiled. Okay. And then when I run test exception, it will ask me for input now. Let's say if I give 5 as x value and 2 as y value, then the result will be division is equal to 2. Because I'm performing integer division, the division comes as 2. Clear, guys? Got the idea like how my program is working? Any question in any of these line? Please let me know. Any question in any of these line? Line number 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 27, 28. Any doubt in any of these line? Okay, thank you, Sangeeta. Let us wait for anyone else having any doubt. Thank you, Monica. Okay, great. Okay, what if I just run the code again? This time, if I give numerator as 0, denominator as 5, what will be the answer? Thank you, Abhi. Thank you, Roshini. What will be the answer now? If I give numerator as 0 and denominator as 5. Nice. Okay, good. So it's working. So I ran for first time, it's working. I ran for second time, it's working. Okay, so nothing wrong. My program is working fine. Even I wanted to add one more statement here to make you understand. Let's add one statement at the end to see whether my program is normally terminating or abnormally terminating. So I wanted to write the statement, will this be printed? So if this is the last line of your program, if it is getting printed, it means your program is normally terminating. Okay, it's reaching to line number 30 and then terminating your program. So let's compile and run again. So I compile the code, it gets compiled. Now I run the code. This time again, I give 5 divided by 2, it's working. I run the code, you see, will this be printed? Yes, it's getting printed. Now I come execute the code again. This time I'll give 0 divided by 2, it's working. Even if I run the code and give 2 divided by 0, 2 divided by 0. Okay. Now tell me, when I give denominator as 0, will this be printed? Will this line number 30 be printed? I ran for 2 times. Even if I give proper input for number of times, it will work fine. And this is normal termination of your program. But now if I give denominator as 0, if I give denominator as 0, will this be printed now? Will line number 30 will be printed? Why? Because here an exception will occur. Okay. And what is the name of that exception? It is called zero division error. Okay. Or arithmetic exception, divide by zero error. Okay. So this, because your computer cannot divide with zero because it gives an infinite. So if try to divide with zero, it will raise an exception. So can you tell me at which line the exception has occurred? Which line number that exception occurred? 14. Okay, line number 14, the exception occurs. So will the line number 15 get executed? Will that line number 15 get executed? Okay, then who is calling division? Main is calling the division. So it comes back to line number 28. So then line number 29 or 30, will it get executed? So whenever the exception comes, the program will be terminated there itself. So it will not execute line number 15. So you will not see division is equal to anything. Even line number 30 will not execute because your program is terminating after coming back to line number 28, or I can say from line number 14 itself. Okay, it will terminate the program and it will give you the complete stack trace. Okay, where the exception comes in the division method. Who is calling it? The main method is calling this division method at which line. Okay, where the exception comes, the complete stack trace will be given. The complete stack trace will be given. Now you can see this time you will have abnormal termination. This was the question Monica asked, that what happens if I don't handle the exception. So before writing the program, I should predict what exception will occur in this program, and then I should accordingly handle that exception. Okay, I should accordingly handle that exception. So we did not provide any handler yet. We will provide the handler. But for now, you see that what happens when the exception comes. So when I press enter, you see that exception came in thread main. Okay, in thread main. What was the exception? Java.lang.arithmetic exception. Okay, java.lang.arithmetic exception, which is divide by zero error. And exception came at line number 14, first of all. Okay, line number 14. It transferred to line number 28 because main is calling that division method, and then program terminated abnormally. You will see these two statements are not getting. These two statements are not getting. So Monica, I hope you got your question answered now. That what happens when the exception occurs? Nice. Anybody else having any question for this? Anybody else having any question that what is happening when I try giving the denominator as 0, how the exception is coming, how that exception message is getting printed, okay, and how your program is abnormally terminating. Abnormally terminating. So Abhi says it's clear. Monica says yes. What about others, guys? Yes, Sangeeta says it's clear. You see, this is exception, right? Exception means an exceptional condition. You see, first time my program runs fine. Thank you, Worship. Second time also my program runs fine. Third time I got the exception, so my program abnormally terminated. Third time I got exception, so my program is abnormally terminated. Okay, clear. So up to here, it's perfectly clear. Now we need to handle that exception. So let's see how we handle this exception. To handle the exception, Java provides you exception handling in Java. Okay, let's see. Exception handling in Java. How we need to handle this exception in Java. Okay. First of all, we need to predict the exception. So as we just seen, like here in this program, you may get arithmetic exception at line number 14. Arithmetic exception at line number 14. You got to know now. Okay. Actually, it should be predicted, but to learn, we have seen like what happens at this uh, in that particular program. So to handle the exceptions in Java, Java gives you five different keywords, five different uh, methodologies for dealing with exception. They are, we have something called try block. Okay, we have something called try block where we will write the risky code, where we will write the risky code, meaning wherever the exception may occur, that risky code we will write inside the try block saying that you try for an exception. If exception comes, you please take care. Okay, you please make sure you create an object and then store all the details of that exception and then look for the handler. Look for the handler. So whatever the risky code you will have, that you will write inside the try. Then you have something called catch block. You have catch block, and inside the catch block we will write the handler code. We will write the handler. Okay, we have other things as well. First, let me introduce this try and catch. Okay, try and catch, because try cannot be alone. If you write only try, you'll be getting an error. Try must always be associated with the catch, or finally we will talk about it, but try cannot be alone or catch cannot be alone. So you'll be writing try followed by catch, try followed by finally, or you cannot have simply catch alone or try alone, first of all. Okay, so that's why let us introduce these two things. What is try and what is catch? So try is to tell that you try for that exception, and Java look for an exception internally. You don't have to write the logic whether b is equal to 0 or not. You don't have to look at the logic. You simply write the risky code inside the try block, and you will be have the handler for the catch block. Now let's write it. So what are my risky code here, guys? Yeah, monitor for the exception in the try block. Very nice. Now the question is, where should I handle that exception? Inside the division or inside main? Where should I handle that exception? Inside division, inside main. Okay. Or I mean, where should I write the try block now? Where should I write the try block? Okay. So let us answer one of the interview question now. What exactly happens when the exception? Then you can answer this question correctly. Where I should write the try block and where should I write the catch block? Because I'm getting mixed answer. Okay, so I wanted you all to know first of all, what happens when the exception comes. Okay, let's try answering this interview question. Okay, so there was an interview question. What happens when the exception occurs? Whether it is arithmetic exception or it could be array out of bounds exception. So whatever the exception comes, okay, number format exception, null pointer exception. The lot of exceptions, we'll talk about the exception hierarchy. What are the exceptions predicted by the Java developers? We'll talk about it. But let us answer this question, what happens when the exception occurs? So whenever the exception occurs, if an exception raised inside any method, then the method is responsible to create that exception object with the following information. So now, which method is in which method the exception is getting raised? In which method the exception is getting raised? Inside division method, right? Inside division method, the exception is getting raised now. So here, the exception is getting raised. Here, the exception is getting raised. So when the exception is getting raised, okay, whenever the exception object will be having following information. What information? The name of the exception, the description of the exception, the location of the exception, which is called stack trace, right? If you look at this output, this is my name of the exception, java.lang.arithmetic exception. So it will contain the name of the exception. Okay, it will contain the description of the exception, like divide by zero is the description of the exception, and then location of the exception, that is called stack trace. Okay, meaning all the methods where the exception comes, where it gets propagated, all that will be shown here. All will be shown here. Okay. So that way, this is basically called exception propagation. We'll talk about it moving forward, but at least this is complete information from the stack. Okay. Then after creating the exception object, the method handovers to the JVM. So what it will do, now the exception came at this division, right? The exception came at this division method. So what it will do, it will create the exception object. Okay, exception object. Which exception object it will create? It will create your arithmetic exception object. Okay, arithmetic exception object will be, and this object contains all the information. What is the information? It contains the information like what is the name of the exception, description of the exception, and the complete stack. Yeah, guys, sorry, there was some disturbance with the server. I guess I tried a lot of time. Now I got connected. So just wait for a minute. I was not able to share the screen. Once I allowed for sharing the screen, we'll resume the session. Thank you. As we were discussing about exception handling, now this is a good example for exception. You see, there was some server issue, was not able to join properly, and somehow it got resolved, and now I'm able to join it. Okay, so that's nice. So let's continue. Okay, and we were talking about what exactly happened when an exception comes. I told you like whenever an exception comes, okay, and this particular method, okay, I told you when any exception raised inside any method, okay, any method, like in the div method, the exception is getting raised. So inside this method, an exception object will be created. An exception object will be created. Exception object will be created. How? Actually, here it creates you the arithmetic exception. And you know how an object will be created? We use new operator and arithmetic exception. Arithmetic exception. Okay. This is not you creating. This will be created by the Java compiler. Okay, for you. So an exception object is getting created here now. Show you an exception object is getting created here, okay, as new arithmetic exception. Okay, then what it will do after creating that exception, it will handle that, it will give this exception to JVM. Okay, this object will be given to JVM. And what JVM will do, JVM will check whether the method contains any exception handler code or not. If the method won't contain if the method won't contain any handler code, the JVM terminates the method abnormally and removes the corresponding entry from the stack. So do we have the handler here in this method? Do we have the handler? I mean, do we have try and catch? No, right? So what it will do, it will terminate this method abnormally and remove the entry from the stack. Remove the entry from the stack. Then what happens, guys? Where it will go? It will go and check, do we have the handler in the caller method or not? Okay, whoever calling. Now main is calling. So does main have the handler or not? So after checking this, it will check. JVM checks the caller method and checks whether the caller method contains any handler or not. If the caller method also does not contain the handler code, let me remove this so that you can read it. So if the caller method also does not have the handler code, Then JVM terminates the caller also abnormally and removes the corresponding entry from the stack. This process will continue until the main method. If main also does not contain any exception handling code, then JVM terminates the main method and remove corresponding entry from the stack. And then JVM hand over this responsibility to default exception handler. What it will do, it simply prints the message and terminates the program abnormally. So it simply terminates the program abnormally. Okay, so this is what exactly happens when an exception occurs. Okay, this is what exactly happens, the exception occurs. Now with this information, now tell me, where should I provide the handler code? With this explanation, you got to know how the exception gets propagated till main method, and finally JVM default system handler is taking care of the exception by simply printing this message and terminating the program. So who is printing this message? The default handler, the default exception handler. Okay, default exception handler just print the exception information in the console with the following format and then close the program, abnormally terminate the program. Now tell me, where should I write my exception handler code now? Where should I write the exception handler code? Inside div method, inside main method. Okay, inside div method. Okay, the correct answer is I can write anywhere. I can write anywhere. I can write inside div or I can write inside main. Because if I don't provide here, it will check inside the main method. Correct? Okay, inside the main method. So actual thing is, it's always a good practice. Being a developer, you provide it. Okay, being a developer, you provide the handler inside the div method. That's a good practice. But if you don't handle, sometimes you want the user to handle, na? That time user, whoever calling this method should handle that exception. So both of them are okay. Okay, both of them are correct. But as you all expecting that div method should handle the exception, let's provide the exception handler here. Okay, let's provide the exception handler here. So we will write the try block. Okay, try block, and I'll keep both the statements because I don't want this also to be printed when the exception comes. Now I will write the catch block where I will be catching arithmetic exception. Okay, and whatever that it's throwing, right? I told you what statement gets added here. Here, the statement gets added is, okay, the statement here, when you write try, it will check for the exception. If exception comes, it will use throw keyword. We'll talk about it, and throw the object. Okay, which object? Arithmetic exception object. Arithmetic exception object will be thrown. To whom? This object will be thrown to catch block. So this will be stored in E. So E contains it's a reference to that object now. So E contains the information about the exception. E contains the information about the exception. Now what I will do, I'll simply go here and print that object information using our regular print method. I'll print E, which will print me the complete information inside that object. It will print the complete information inside the object. So what exactly happening internally, whenever the object prints, which method gets called? We had this discussion earlier. So you can recall whenever I print the object, because you may be thinking, okay, what I'm printing E because E contains the information about the object. So what method gets called, guys, when you print an object? ToString method. Very nice. Thank you, Anirudh. So ToString method gets called whenever we print an object. The ToString method will print the information about that object, right? Now let's run this code and see that what happens. Okay, whether the exception get handled or not. The exception is getting handled inside the try block. I'll show you when it handled inside the main block as well. Okay, and now exception got handled. So it will simply execute line number 33 as well as line number 35. Okay, line number 35 as well. So as the exception got handled here. As the exception got handled here, so it will work perfectly fine. Now, let's run this and see what happens now. Okay. So now I will compile and show you after handling the exception, how my program works. Clear the screen, compile the code as I did changes. It compiles fine. Now run the code. I'll give 5 divided by 2. It's working. I will run again. I will give 0 divided by 2. It's working. Now I will give 2 divided by 0. You see here, I got the exception, but my program is normally terminated. Okay, because that line number 35 is getting executed. So the program is normally terminated because my exception got handled by my try and catch. Exception got handled by try and catch block. So exception was handled perfectly. Clear all how that exception is getting handled. So either you can handle the exception inside the try block, or you can handle the exception inside. I mean, you can handle the exception inside diff, or you can handle the exception inside main. Now, I would like to expect some questions here. Let's see some questions. Do we have any question? Okay, I got some questions here. The first question we have is the exception shown. Is it the object E? Okay, I need some more clarity. Let me show you the code. Now, I did not get your question, Varshit. Can we just elaborate a little bit? So, what happened? The exception object got created at this line number 15, and it will throw that exception object to whom? To the catch block. To the catch block. And when the exception object gets thrown, will be referred to this E. E will be referring to that object. So E is the arithmetic exception object, okay? And it contains the information about that exception. So I'm printing that E. And whenever you print an object, the toString method gets called from this class, and it will print the information in this particular way. Okay? In this particular way, it contains the name of the exception and the description of the exception. Is this clear, Varshit? Is that your question? Okay, that's nice. Any other question, guys, from the exception handling? Can you write the exception in the main block also? Yes, I can write that exception in the main block as well. So let me write it here and then see whether the exception is getting handled or not. So I will simply write this try, okay, here and catch. Okay, catch. I will not write here. I will remove from here. I will remove from here. Now you see what happens. Will I get the same output or not? So I will be providing try followed by catch inside the main. So I told you I can handle the exception inside div method. Also, I can handle the exception inside main method because first it will check is it exception handler provided by div? No. Then it will go back from the to the caller and it will check main is providing or not. Okay. This is basically called exception propagation. And as we are handling the exception inside main, so it will be taken care. Now I'll give 5 divided by 2, it's working. When I give 2 divided by 0, it's still working. So same output, okay, because main is handling the exception. So whether you handle the exception inside diff or inside main, the exception must be handled somewhere, okay, in the chain, not anywhere else. In the chain, whoever calling, it should handle. Example, if you look at here, if you have some scenario like this, you have method m1. Okay, let's say you have m1 method, okay, which is calling m2 method, which is calling m3 method, okay, and which is calling m4 method. M4 method. and this M1 called by main method. So if exception comes at M4 method, first it will check, do we have the handler in M4 method or not? If no handler, whoever it's calling, it will check, do we have the handler in M3 method? No. Again, it will check with M2 method? No. It will check with M1 method? No. If it will check with main method. If main is also not having the handler, then it will give to default exception handler. Okay. If main is handling the exception or any other method in between handling the exception will be handled. So in this chain, okay, any one of the method should handle the exception. Most importantly, M4 should handle, but in worst case, either M3, M2, M1, M main. Based on the scenario, any of the method may handle the exception. Okay. Thank you, Varshit. Thank you for your question. I think it was the question from Manoj. Thank you, Manoj, for the question. Anyone else having question regarding exception handling? Okay. I have a quick question to conclude. Okay. So let's see that question and uh, let's see what next. So we have a class here called test and we have a main method. Okay. Public static void main. And then we have a try block and I'm converting this into integer. Okay. Now tell me which exception could be handled by the catch block for above. Options are illegal state exception, number format exception, class cast exception, array index out of bound exception, and none of this. Which exception could be handled by the catch block, or what exceptions you can predict here? What exception you can predict when you execute this program? I mean, when you write the handler code, which exception you will be handling here? Okay. I got a couple of answers. That's nice. So let me check with everyone your understanding till now that what kind of exceptions you need to handle here. Okay. Anyhow, this we will be learning moving forward, like what are the different exceptions. But I just want you to guess and have the answer. So it's a number format exception because you're trying to convert this string into integer, which is wrong. So this will throw a number format exception. So in short, you should know what method throws which exception. Okay. Whenever you're learning about the method, you should know what exception it may throw and accordingly you need to handle. So moving forward, we will explore different exceptions predicted, like what is arithmetic exception, what is number format exception, array index out of bounds exception, okay, illegal state exception, class cast not found exception, interrupted exception, number of exceptions we're going to learn, whatever predefined, and also we will be moving for customized exceptions, how we create our whole user defined exception, and we'll talk about like how try with resources got added. So all these advanced concepts we'll be learning moving forward. Okay.